I told you there'd be password, and here we have password again. Yeah, we're on Tyson's route, as I said. Finally, I know we're way behind on these, and came out quite a while ago, but we're going to try and get caught up with some of this stuff now. And we're going to pick it up for Tyson's day 11. If I sound distracted, I've got dog hairs floating around everywhere. That's what happens if I'm Malamute. So let's load things up. That's where we left them last time. Day 11. Remember tossing and turning in my sleep, restless. Dave, come on buddy, time to get up. The corners of my mouth twitched upwards at the familiar voice, but it soon faded, brow furrowed. Oh, 5 more minutes, Dad. Oh, you're that tired? You slept long enough, buddy, come on. My eyes adjusted to see Dad sitting on the bed, a hand on my shoulder from where he gently nudged me awake. I still felt sluggish, but what I could see was clear. There's my boy. Dad? What? Where? It had to have been dreaming again, right? This was a dream much like the last time, but why? Why now? My heart ached seeing him after what had happened with Sal and Dean. Are you sick, son? You're looking a little under the weather. No, I'm fine. I think I just... What? You sure? I don't mind calling in sick myself if you want me around. Or I could shoot Tyson a message, see if he'll keep you company again. I sat up, rubbing my eyes. I had to be dreaming. I went to pull up my fur to see if that wakes me up, but my own arm slipped out of my grasp. Dad, why are you here? That's not very nice, son. I'll always be with you. It's just the job of a dad. You'll be with me, always. That's right. So come on downstairs, it's almost time to get going. He got up and left the room before I could get a word in. That was normal. Maybe not with how he seemed to slide out of the room, but he did move fast when he was excited. Where were we going? Why? Next thing I knew, I was downstairs looking at the living room. I couldn't make out what they were saying, but I could hear Mom and Dad yelling. Dad stomped past me, stopping at the door. He just looked at me quietly for a moment before he sighed out. He went to say something, but it was garbled, like I couldn't understand him. He went to speak again, much to the same result. I shook my head, confused, but he seemed to be laughing. I took a couple of steps towards him, reaching out my hand, but then he was gone. As the bedroom came back into view, I looked around to take stock of where I was. Hammond Manor, a bed that I was, for the most part, slowly becoming used to. But the one thing I was used to was the wolf next to me, sprawled out on his back seemingly at peace. My mind began to wander as I stared at the ceiling. I didn't normally have dreams like this, more so about Dad. Was it just getting to the point pushing it down wasn't working? I sat up in bed and shifted away from the other person occupying it, feeling not quite tired but more confused as to how I was really coping. By the time I was decent and made my way downstairs, I looked out to the foyer. The house was quiet. For how big it was, I expected there would be some sort of sound echoing, but the soundproofing probably took care of that. Taking a seat on the stairs, I cradled my head in my hands, rocking back and forth slowly. What do I do? I repeated the question as a whisper to no one in particular, not even to myself as I tried to figure out what the next plan was. I've been successful, right? Seeing what I had in the vault? Even at the cost of making Sal sad. Was that worth it? This sucks. I groaned out, slumping back against the stairs, for I caught movement nearby. Huh? Must you be so loud in the morning? I wasn't loud, I was just... The words were already out of my mouth. I realised the irony and saw Oswin crack a smile. Why aren't you in your... well, hiding? I'm on my way to bed. Wandering my own house is somewhat normal, given I live here, no? But staying hidden and... Believe me, I'm aware. But at the same time, consider I would know how best to move around my house, outside of perhaps Benson. So you're going to disappear now? Soon. Are you still interested in another meeting tonight? If you've changed your mind, then I suppose that's that. Oh no. I mean, no, I'm still interested. Good, because I have questions for you after last night. You put on quite a show. You were watching. The equivalent to a morning television programme, if anything, but something I've been pondering while you've been asleep, no doubt. I scrunched up my nose at him, feeling bitter that I was just a form of entertainment for him. Am I funny to you? Funny? No. Fascinating? Absolutely. Granted, your mental state is something I'm concerned about. Whatever effect the vault is having on you is something that could do some lasting damage. I don't have a choice if it's keeping my friends alive. Quite. Which is why it's imperative I monitor you when I can to make sure you don't degrade further. Either way, it's something to address tonight. I'll meet you in the library at 11 PM and take you to the lab from there. I can't just meet you at the lab. Not this time. Not without me showing you the way first. That in and of itself is a test. I'm curious to know how you'll respond. I wasn't convinced, and I must have shown in my face. Oh, don't worry about it, Dave. I shall see you tonight. I didn't think to follow him, but I watched as he headed towards the basement. I could only assume he had another secret passage down there or had something else planned. Either way, the others were likely to start showing up soon. With the thoughts of the others soon joining me, I headed into the dining room in a daze. Coffee, breakfast. I was just so tired. Then into the kitchen. I wondered if I should just head back to bed or if I should just stay here. It wasn't if it was any different to any other morning at home. Especially with Dad gone. A hand on my shoulder made me jump, and I spun to look at who had touched me as they pulled their hand away. Oh, it's just you. Oh, did I scare you? Heaven forbid I did anything of the sort. No, just... It's fine, really. I didn't even smile. Even if I wanted to, I had a reflex. It just didn't happen. What's troubling you, my boy? You look worse for wear, and no wonder given the hour. I just don't know anymore. All this stuff is just getting to me. I pulled my gaze away to stare at the coffee pot, hoping it'd finish brewing faster. It's been getting to me for a bit now, but no one understands. Right. As far as they know, this is just a thing in my head. After all, what would you do if your friend told you you were going to die out of nowhere? He didn't respond, so I continued. Or if you had to accuse one of your friends for murdering someone else? What do I do? There's nothing you can do, my boy. For one reason or another, you've made this decision, and the only one holding you to it is yourself. But what if someone dies? Everyone dies, be it by natural causes or by an assailant in the night. Take it from someone with first-hand experience in such matters, Dave. That's meant to help anyone. That's not going to help me knowing everyone's just going to die. Then perhaps, Master Dave, you should stop believing you have absolute control over everyone's life. If it is their time, it is simply their time. I clenched my jaw, then my fists. Then the next thing I knew, I was throwing a fist at Benson. Maybe it was something rubbing off on me from Tyson. Maybe it's just an act of defiance after what Benson had said. For his moves were calm and precise, stepping around my arm and grabbing my wrist and twisting it tightly, making me yelp. Now, you listen here, my boy. His grip tightened, and I started to whine as he forced me to my knees, kicking lightly behind my knee. It hurts. Stop. Oh, does it? Then perhaps you should think twice about trying to inflict pain on others, my boy. I yelled as he clenched tighter, his grip almost like a vice. Then he let go, and the moment he did, I cradled my arm, whimpering. If you're that keen on fighting for control, then be ready for someone or something to fight back. Fighting for what's right is not necessarily the easiest road. It will hurt, Dave. He stepped away and I got up, shaky. But then... Yes, they'll die, I know. Take what I said as a precautionary tale, then. Eventually something will break, my boy. At the rate you're going, it could just be you. He moved off to another part of the kitchen and my gaze went to the floor. I closed my eyes and just stood there, trying to block out my own thoughts. Just give up, Dave. Let whatever happens, happen. Let them die. The next thing I knew, I was sitting at the table being lightly shaken by Tyson. What are you doing? I looked between him and Orlando, then a mug of coffee in front of me. Dave, you look out of it. No shit. Also, what the hell bailing on me this morning? Fucking had me worried. What were you doing this morning? Oh, nothing. Just something he and I do sometimes. Ty made a show of grinding a knuckle into my head. It was more a massage, and he knew exactly where to touch. Well, so long as you're okay, I guess I'll go make breakfast. I looked up to watch Orlando wander into the kitchen, and I watched as Ty took my mug away. This is fucking ice cold. You've been nursing this for how long? Soon he too left, grumbling as he went towards the kitchen. I looked up as Dean and Sal wandered into the dining room. They both looked tired, and I could only imagine why. Well, good morning, Dave. Sal mumbled something before sitting down at the table. Dean glanced at him, nodding before sitting down next to me. So, I whined softly, watching as Dean scratched his arm awkwardly as he rested them on the table. I'm sorry for last night, Dean. Really. He shook his head, sighing out. Well, it'll be all right. He yawned briefly before rubbing his face. I cracked a wry smile, feeling like I should try and lighten the mood. You look as tired as me. Did you sleep all right? He flashed me that same smile back, lasting only for a second. The longer he didn't give me an answer back, the more it sank in. You haven't slept? There are certain things that are more important, namely taking care of someone dear to me, and that means Sal. I'm sorry, I didn't. Much like the night before, Dean held up a hand and shook his head. Oh, it's fine, Dave. We talked it out, and, for better or worse, what's done is done. Well, I'm tired, though, but that's fixable. Well, as for Sal, he'll just need some cheering up. I'm on top of that, too. Don't worry. Can I help? Well, not this time. If that changes, though, I'll let you know. Dean went to join Sal nearby, the pair of them talking quietly between themselves. Then Roswell and Hoss showed up, surprisingly a lot more perky than the rest of us. Good morning, guys. Yeah, good morning. I drummed my fingers on the table, missing the mug of coffee I'd made myself despite letting it go cold. Well, what's on your mind, Dave? A lot. Okay, but anything more specific than that? We can't help unless you say something. I went to say something, but instead just shook my head, keeping my gaze on the table. Hoss and Roswell took seats next to each other and started talking in hushed tones about me. Specifics I couldn't quite make out, but they were planning something. I just had to make it through the day, to tonight. Oswin would tell me some more things, and knowledge was power, right? He said as much when I ran into him earlier. Or maybe not that specifically, but if he had anything to help me not break, as Benson put it, I was willing to listen. Orlando emerged from the kitchen with a bunch of toast, and Ty stopped by with a fresh mug of coffee for me. He sat it down carefully in front of me and caught my eye, flashing me a small smile. It made me feel something, but after a moment it was gone and he was wandering further down the table with his own mug. They moved off and the rest of breakfast was a blur. Let go, Dave. It's all right. Let them die. Earth to Dave. Huh? I came to with Hoss snapping his fingers in front of my face. My coffee was half gone from a cursory glance and still kind of warm, so I must not have zoned out for too long. Well, he's been talking to you for a couple of minutes, Dave. Sorry, I just... Hoss and Dean shot each other a glance, worried. I could tell they were, but I didn't know what to tell them. After all, what could you say when the voice in your head, the voice of what sounded like your dad, was telling you to let your friends die? Maybe you should go back to bed? I wouldn't blame you given how I'm considering it. I need him for something else. Huh? For what? Just trying to corral your two favourite people together for some friendly, well, let's say I'm just going to force them to play nice. You're not going to make them wear some sort of oversized shirt, are you? Well, I might if they force my hand. But let's start with getting them to play a game together. A game? What kind of game? They're just going to fight, Hoss. Oh, they're not going to fight. They're going to get along, so help me, or I'll do something drastic. Well, like the shirt? Hoss shook his head, sighing out. Before he could comment any further, Dean looked around. Well, sorry to dash like this, but Sal's given Orlando a swimming lesson, Dave. I'd have asked if he wanted to come join, but I'm going to make sure he's an extra set of hands. Oh, okay. With a half wave, Dean hurried along out to the dining room, leaving me with Hoss. Well, time to go. Go where? He didn't answer, instead dragging me up and out of my chair to lead me out to the dining room. When we got to the rec room, Tyson and Roswell were standing awkwardly in the room, half acknowledging the other was there. Excellent, we're all here. Yeah, I guess. Well, not that I mind, but why? He shot Tyson a quick look, uncertain, but he just shrugged back, equally confused. Well, now that Dave is here and it turns out he wasn't doing anything, we're going to make you two get along. What? That's not necessary, is it? Really? If we're up to you two, you'd be all... He gestured over his head loosely, rolling his eyes. Not only that, but Tyson's a swell guy and could use some more friends. Fuck off, I don't need more friends. You kinda do, Ty. I'm managing fine. Oh sure, you're doing fine before you discovered anime with your many friends. I have expected Tyson to make some sort of annoyed remark at Hoss the moment he spoke, or even when he threw an arm over his shoulder. Instead, he just grumbled something under his breath and looked away. That's something. Not that I don't mind Roswell being here, but because it's time to bury the hatchet or settle old feuds. Someone's got to look out for Big Dog here. Big Dog? Fuck off, I'm a wolf. Hoss rolled his eyes, shrugging. Be the big bad wolf for all I care. You're not telling me you expect me to look out for him, do you? Nope, that's my job. Or something like that anyway. Something that's not just anime can... Something that not just anime can solve, given what you like and what he likes seem to be different. So... What, we're going to go get food? We all like food. Oh, if we're doing food, then we should grab Orlando, right? As it's just eating and perhaps Dean. Yeah, sure, you snack gremlin, you. Well, fine, if we're going to do food, I'll just go get some snacks and we can do this. Not so fast, I have a better idea. Better than snacks. I know, right? Don't really know what snacks are like gonna matter? I chuckled, nervous, and sure what was going to happen if he and Roswell had any common ground. Nope, because we're not doing anime or snacks today. Well, at least not as the main activity. I yawned, stretching for a look into the three of them. What is the main activity? Board games. This early, before lunch? Well, I'd have to agree. Don't think I've ever played a board game before lunch. Normally it's waking up time. Alright, or like if it's a game, just turn on the TV or pull out a deck of cards. I saw Roswell's face light up and quickly looked at Hoss, alarmed. Cards, huh? Didn't know you like to play cards, Tyson. Cut that out. The reason we're not playing cards is because you cheat. I do not cheat. Well, that's not what I heard from Orlando. Oh, you mean when they play the trading cards or whatever? Or any card game, apparently. Dude, you're gonna cheat, at least do it properly. I don't cheat, honest. Anyway, it's not a problem because we're not playing cards. What are we playing? You said a board game, but there's a lot of board games to choose from. That doesn't bother me. Beats working out all morning anyway. Great, so without further ado, let me just go get that game. I'll be right back. I watched as Hoss wandered over the cupboard and started to peruse the games while looking to Tyson and Roswell. So, the two of them seemed to be minding their own business, looking at me the moment I spoke. Games, huh? Yep. Just assume we're watching more anime. Well, same. Most of what Hoss goes on about, that and healthy living. Roswell shuddered, sticking out his tongue at the prospect. Well, sucking me in with the prospect of doing something fun. Did he explain to either of you what was going on beforehand, or... Both of them just shook their heads, glancing at each other quickly. What if I had to guess? Kept it from us so we wouldn't bail? Right. Cards on the table, I probably would have. Well, I'm not alone there. But you're both here, so I guess it's just time to get along. Couldn't have said it better myself. Hoss put an arm over my shoulder while he carried a box in his free hand, rattling it gently. Come on, let's get to gaming. We settled in around a table with the box sitting between us. So, what game are we playing? I looked at the box, chuckling nervously. Mousetrap. Not the most team-building exercise, but I'm sure that works. We can play around with this and then, I don't know, go from there. Can't we play, I don't know, a video game? One of the goals is to make friends, then. I don't know, he's got a point. Should at least plan for something more collaborative. Maybe we could try that chef game Orlando likes. We'll deal with that afterwards. However, he gestured to Roswell and Tyson quickly. You two are going to have a little bit of a handicap. Why the fuck would we have a handicap? Yeah, that doesn't seem fair. Well, how about this then? If you don't want the handicap, then how about you say something nice about one another? The hell? Who made you the boss? There was no reply, but I noticed Roswell and Tyson looking my way. That's when I noticed Hoss gesturing at me with a thumb. Wait, what? I didn't say anything. I mean, if you don't think you two can get along, then by all means play with the handicap. You literally don't have the power to enforce this handicap. Oh, I wouldn't say that, Roswell. After all, I'd like to think Dave here would love for you two to get on. Or you could make him sad. Either way. My eyes darted from Hoss to the other two, who were shifted uncomfortably, looking at each other while occasionally stealing looks at me. What's the handicap? Really? You're not going to try? Are you going to try? Roswell breathed in deep, rubbing his nose. Okay, I can do this. Tyson, I like how you can keep Dave calm when he's freaking out. That's a start, but maybe try something not involving Dave. Why are you trying to force this anyway? Can't we just, I don't know, play this game on hard mode? Cause fuck, if it's against you two, you'd probably need the advantage. Huh? I'm not that bad at games. I looked at Roswell, who seemed determined about something, thinking his words over carefully. I'm trying to be better. I need to be better. Tyson rolled his eyes, scratching his head. Don't go hurting yourself. God, would you look at yourself? You're so similar, it's uncanny. What? Oh yeah, you two are a lot more alike than you realise. Probably why you don't get on. Really? I don't see it. Well, neither. Same. Well, I've known Roswell a bit longer than you, Tyson, but you're not too hard to figure out. What's that meant to mean? Maybe you could afford to chill just a little? Roswell has stuff that drives him and he's sensitive about. You do too, but you both let your guard down around certain people. Once again, I felt eyes on me. So about the handicap. Come on, Ty. Try for me? Tyson grumbled but didn't say anything, sitting back in his chair and keeping his arms folded over his chest. Maybe you treat this like a game too, Tyson? What do you mean? You like games, right? Which means you probably like winning. Just see the game as like proving Hoss wrong or something. A little spiteful, but sure, I guess that works. While they talked, I started pulling things out of the box, looking at each of the pieces and looking for the rulebook. For example, Tyson, I like how confident you are. Confident? Sure, I guess that works. You at least come across that way. Maybe a little cocksure, but nowhere near as bad as Hoss. I'm right here, Oswin. Well, thanks, I guess. You're very welcome. It was nice seeing these two interact without being in each other's throats, but something was missing. First, I thought it was a lack of immediate reply from Tyson. But as I thought about it, it was something else. Something felt off. Maybe it's a lack of familiarity? They did apologise to one another, right? This was good. But what if it wasn't? Was breaking what I was used to really all that good? I value that consistency, but I've been giving that up by messing with the vault, intervening when normally I'd just let things play out. Was Tyson alright with this? I liked what we had, but what if he changed? What if he became someone I no longer recognised? Let whatever happens, happen. Let them die. The voice in my head confused me. Let them grow as people, but also let them die? Was the only way to stop them from dying was to keep them the same? Dave, come on, buddy, snap out of it. Huh? What happened? Noted he was zoned out. Everything good? I looked at the three of them. Much like at breakfast, I was faced with expressions of worry and concern. I guess so. Bullshit. What was it that I said I liked about Roswell? I looked quickly to Roswell, looking him over with my brow furrowed. His clothes? Not even clothes, buddy. You need more sleep or... I'm fine. The words even felt hollow as they came out of my mouth, a flinch reaction more than anything else. You don't sound fine. Roswell, you're the smart one, you know what's up. Roswell puffed out his chest, scratching his chin as he locked eyes with me, seemingly trying to figure me out like a puzzle. Normally I'd say fatigue, but something's different, or very peculiar. Wow, great insight there. Well, go on then. What's your guess? Now it's Tyson's turn to stare me down. I looked away, not wanting to meet his eye. Could be a couple of things. Don't know for sure, though. And here you two are shocked you two weren't similar. Well, you try it. See how you do. Guys, can we just not do this? I gestured to the game in front of us. Even Tyson and Roswell are getting on, Hoss. This is what you wanted, right? But what did you want, Dave? Me? Yeah, you're always in on what everyone else wants. What do you want for a change? Looking at each of them in turn, I sat back, really wondering what something I wanted was. For the most part, I wasn't ever left wanting, so it was a hard thing to think of on the spot. I lingered a little longer on Tyson, that feeling returning in my chest. It hurt in a good way, but for the most part just made me sick. I don't know. Come on, you can do better than that. Do you want a snack? I could get you something sweet to perk you up if you want. For bedtime, I don't want to sleep with someone and get some cuddling in. Hey, it could just be that he wants to be doing something rather than just talk all day. That said, talking is always good. Yeah, I know you love talking already. Oh, someone already be on the receiving end of one of Hoss's anime rants? Just wait until he gets you to pick out your first waifu. Well, that's never happening. First of all, yes, it is happening. Second, we're getting off track. Focus on Dave. Tyson and Roswell laughed to themselves as Hoss grumbled. It didn't go further than that and we started playing our game. Of course, Roswell won and Tyson called it bullshit anyway. But they seemed to have fun, much to Hoss's relief. From there we moved on to video games, and after the third time with Tyson stealing some sort of star thing from Roswell, we stopped in a huff when Hoss snuck out a victory. This was nice, but the thought of what I really wanted lingered. Was it simply to have a good vacation, to keep everyone alive, to have them be friends? Or was I just wanting to be left alone? Bullshit, we're going again. What? Why have you lost again? Guys, maybe chill a little bit? Hell no. I checked out for a while, but as the score screen flashed up on the screen, it seemed as though they were even enough with Roswell 1 point ahead. Oh. Well, fighting in the game is better than in person, right? Just one more, come on. Oh sure, just don't complaining when you lose. I sat the controller down, not even sure what we were playing anymore. Hoss seemed to follow suit, wandering over the side to look through what other things the room had. Hoss, where are you going? Well, letting these two sort it out. Looking at how things were going with the other two, it seemed they were both furiously mashing buttons to do something. A bunch of flashing lights were happening on the screen. It was a bit hard to keep track of what was happening. But eventually the screen flashed at Tyson at 1, and he huffed out, pleased with himself despite the score now being tied. Button masher? Sorry, didn't get over the sound of me winning. Roswell went to say something, but resolved himself to crossing his arms over his chest and sulking. God, they really were similar. So what happens now? We're watching anime. Oh really? Why? Yeah, I was kinda having fun. Well, count me out. I looked at Tyson, tilted my head in confusion. I noticed he was looking at me. Oh, come now, Tyson, don't be like that. Calm down, it's not like that at all. I just need a break. Well, if that's all, mind if I take one too? Neither of you are coming back if you take a break. Call it now. I feel like I should come back now just to spite you. Aye. Once again I caught him looking at me, jerking his head towards the door quickly. I might be back, then I'll just need a break for a bit. It's probably about time for lunch anyway, right? Oh, good point. Oh, I mean it, I'll stick around to watch some anime. Could do with something lower energy after that. We headed downstairs. The moment I touched down on the tiles of the ground floor, Ty started dragging me towards the back door. Roswell glanced over his shoulder, curious, but Hoss ushered him towards the dining room all the same. Ty closed the door behind him quietly. I wandered over the railing where he had joined me the morning before. Ty? He sighed out, shaking his head. Some morning, huh? I don't... Putting up with Roswell, Hoss? Didn't think I'd have to put up with you as well. Wait, put up with? What do you mean? You know exactly what I mean, pup. I searched his face before sighing out. Even if it was a bluff, I came clean. Yeah, okay, sorry. No, you're not. I am, really, it's just... No, you're not. You're doing that pushing everything down bullshit again, zoning out more, it's fucking stupid. So you have two options right now. Tell me what's going on with you or don't. If you don't tell me, then you're on your own. Wait, but I thought you had my back. I do. I'm not going to force it out of you don't want to share, though. Got to come clean about it yourself. I whined, scratching my head. Ty, it's not that easy. Bullshit, it's not that easy. You're just not wanting to upset anyone. He grabbed me roughly and pushed me back against the railing of the deck. So I'm going to ask again, what's going on with you? Let them die. Tell me, Dave. The voice that echoed through my head drowned out what pain I felt from Tyson digging into my shoulders as he held me. Without asking, he backed off, shaking his head. Forget it, I'm going inside. Before I realised what I was doing, I reached out and grabbed his hand, trembling. No, wait. Tyson's ears flicked as he looked back to me, waiting. You're right. I don't want to upset anyone, but... I breathed in deep, my grip on his hand tightening a little more. I know what I want. What? I held my gaze on him, hoping he'd be able to piece it together without me needing to say. Well? Ty, you know. What? Not tired now? Is this you telling me how you want to spend the afternoon? What? Oh, no, well, no, but... That nervous laughter came out again and I yanked my hand away from his, burying it into my pocket. And what? You know, have you ever thought seriously about that one thing? What thing? Stop being fucking vague. Going on a date, eating food together. He sighed, shaking his head. We're doing this again? Well, why not? Because you haven't been listening if I have to explain this to you again. I'm not gay. But, I don't know what I am, but just... He grumbled, running his hands through his fur while his gaze met the floor. He scratched and tugged for a few minutes before glancing at me, his tone quiet. I just don't know. How do you know you're not gay then? What? Yeah, like maybe you are and you just don't know it? He started growling, wandering over to stand next to me and lean on the railing. Can't be. So, you like girls too? He was quiet, looking far off somewhere in front of him. I mean, the options seem nice if you like girls as well, or maybe just girls because there's more girls that like guys than guys that like other guys, you know? I was filling the silence with sound to stop myself from laughing, but I was panicking something fierce under the surface. Dave, do me a favour and shut up. Whining, I did as he said, shrinking into my shoulders. It'd be easy if he was like that. Sure as hell would feel a lot more normal. You don't feel normal? He shot me a look, unimpressed. What the fuck do you think? You seem normal enough to me. Well, thanks I guess. I have your dad to thank for that, I think. How come? He pulled his phone out of his pocket, looking at it before looking to me uncertain. Just stuff he used to say. Stuff that still seems kind of weird. Like... He continued staring off into the distance, mouth slightly agape while he mouthed the words, almost running through them himself before speaking them. I deserve love. I wasn't bad. It's alright to make mistakes. You know, normal bullshit stuff. It's not bullshit though, that's just how it is, isn't it? Yeah, and you see what my dad is like. Right, yeah. Hell, I didn't figure that way before I had the talk, but I assumed I'd get it from my old man instead of yours. Dad gave you the talk? Yeah, and? No, nothing, I don't know, I guess I never thought about it. He told me to drive, taught me a whole bunch of stuff, but now what? I meant to figure this shit out on my own? You still got me, maybe I could help? Not on this, not when you're the problem. What did I do? Oh, nothing, don't worry about it. No, really, because if I did something wrong, I could just... He was staring me down and I felt small. One day I'll have this figured out, one day. And until then, what am I meant to do? Can you just... This isn't about you, Dave. We've been over this. But if you're family to me and families are meant to look out for one another and you've got my back and... All these things just make me feel like I'm letting you down by not knowing what to do. You're not letting me down. If anything, I'm letting myself down. I should know how to do this. I'm the older one. His stomach growled and he glanced downwards briefly. We should get lunch. Okay, sure. Yeah, lunch. What are you doing after lunch? I don't know. Ross and Ros will be watching anime, so there goes that. We could join them. Could, but I just want to spend some time with you, alone. Having sex? No wonder you and Dean get on. Nah, I figured we could do something, I don't know. Well, what about if we went for a swim? I guess that works. We could do something else if that's not enough. Nah, just hanging out will be good. As long as you don't care about me just sunbaking for a lot of it. We wandered back inside and I felt just as mixed as before. Ty was bothered about anything anymore, it didn't show. We went in, grabbed some sandwiches and wandered upstairs to get changed. Or more accurately, I wandered upstairs to change into my swimming trunks while Ty watched. I wouldn't have thought anything of it normally, as he was just sort of around whenever I did anything. But now, and after what he did after he pulled me into his room, I wasn't so sure. When we got to the pool, Ty latched the gate and held it open for me, wandering in behind. I sat my towel down over one of the deck chairs and looked around. It seemed as though the swimming lesson went over alright, but we must have missed the others while I was changing. Ty, are you going to swim at all, or...? No. How come? The water is fine and like the weather seems okay too, right? For now, sure. He gestured upwards with his thumb before folding his arms back over his chest. Gonna get rain tonight, I think. Just a feeling I have. Oh, well, I didn't check any forecasts, I wouldn't know. Yeah, that's no surprise. You gonna go swim now, or...? I mean, I guess. Tyson, I'm starting to think you don't want to spend time together. I do. I'm just gonna sunbake. But then why am I swimming by myself? Just stop being a brat and leave me alone. I stood there staring at him, confused. But I thought... Ty wandered over to me, placing his hands on my shoulders. You want to know so bad? Well, yeah, I care about you. He flinched, digging into my shoulders just a little tighter. When you're around, things just stop, you know, in my head. I tilted my head at him, not sure what he meant. I don't know what it is, just having you nearby makes things less crazy, like I can focus. Looking up at him, he seemed calmer, if only a little. Scary but familiar, calm but unsure. This was the Tyson I knew, but maybe I didn't know him as well as I thought I did. Are you sure that's all I need to do? Just be around? Yeah, but just not all the time, so please? Just let me be around you for a bit. Okay, sure, Ty. He flashed me a quick smile before backing off, taking a few steps back before turning completely to head to one of the deck chairs. I watched a gentle sway of his tail, drooping ever so slightly. The way his shoulders moved, stiff as if sore or maybe just trying to put on a brave front. Ty. He stopped, looking over his shoulder at me. What? I like having you around too. I caught the briefest smile crossing his face before he wandered off proper and lay down. As for me, I slid into the water. It was cool but pleasant, reminded me kind of when all of us went to the beach. I say all of us, but it was just Dad, Ty and myself. Mom couldn't make it, but I remembered it was shortly after Ty got his licence. He was nervous as Dad decided he should drive, and he was worried about crashing the car and what that would mean for those of us if it did happen. We got to the beach fine and Dad didn't drive back, but Tyson? He sat in the back seat with me, pretending to be asleep, but he didn't let my hand go, not once. I looked over to him and he seemed to be asleep, sprawled out on his back under the sun. Did he love me? Was that what it was? Felt kind of like Dad, but different. Or was this just being what brothers was like? Sliding out of the pool, I wandered over a little closer to check on him. He was sleeping, calm and relaxed. I was a little jealous. I moved over to the hot tub and turned it on, sitting down in the bubbling water, just letting time escape me. Hey. The next thing I knew, Ty was sitting down next to me, his pants rolled up to his knees as he let his feet sit in the water. Hey, I was sunbaking. Oh, fine, I guess. I was swimming. Fine. Water was nice. Ty grunted and we just quietly sat together. He didn't seem to budge, shy of occasionally scratching himself or looking around. Ty. What? His tone made it clear that maybe I wasn't meant to be asking anything and just being quiet, but all the same I wanted to talk with him. Do you ever think about, I don't know, how things were back home? I try not to. I meant my home, with Dad. I know, and my answer's the same. Don't you miss him? Of course I fucking miss him. I just don't like thinking about it, just like you. I don't... He pulled out his phone and did something, flicking through something for showing me a picture. It was a shot of all three of us taken by Dad with Ty's phone. See? Seeing all of us there, happy, made my heart sink. Sure, Mom wasn't in the picture, but this was still a good memory. Don't gotta think about it when I got you here. But then, why leave? He sighed and shoved his phone back into his pocket. Then in one motion he pulled himself out of the hot tub. And not get into it again. Not now. But if not now, when? Later. When later? Tonight? When we're in bed? He began to shake, refusing to look at me. Ty, sleep by yourself tonight. Now you're just pissing me off. I tell you one thing, you don't listen to me. You want to talk, but what's the point if you're not going to listen? But I'll listen. You're just not wanting to tell me. Yeah? And what do you think that is with your fucking dumb smile that makes me feel things and I just... He trailed off, catching himself in what he just said. Fuck. Why is talking to you have to be so difficult now? It's fine before. If we were back home, we'd just... And then... Order a pizza and cuddle? Right, and... Then fall asleep? Yeah, but... And then we'd make pancakes in the morning? He spun around to stare at me, eyes wild and a mix of emotions. His voice came over harsh, if accusatory, eyes narrowing. What are you getting at? Well, I mean, I like doing that. I like having that time together, but, do you really not feel anything back then? Tyson's jaw clenched as he looked me over, muttering something just barely a whisper. Fuck you. I'm not your fucking boyfriend, so stop making out to be like with some married couple. Because you're not gay. He seemed relaxed when I said it. Maybe hearing someone else say it was all he needed to hear. Look, I don't hate you, but damn Dave, you do piss me off sometimes. But I didn't mean to. I don't even know what I did. I'm just trying to understand. Yeah, well, when I understand, maybe I'll tell you. But right now, leave me the fuck alone, please. I was stunned as he turned and walked away. He had his fists balled up tight and he was shaking as if he were crying. Not once did he turn around so I could see, though. Just give up, Dave. Let whatever happens happen. He fumbled with the gate and left me there in the tub, alone. An emptiness in my chest made itself known and I felt hollow, almost sick. Looking down at the water, I wondered why I wasn't crying, the point I was subconsciously touching my face. I'd just forgotten how to cry, or what just happened not even registered as something to make me sad. But I moved right past sad into shock. Ty was important to me, as a brother, as someone who I looked up to, especially now that Dad was gone. Mom didn't like him though, so maybe that's why I felt conflicted. For so long he'd been a part of my life that I'd never really questioned how much he took care of me. I didn't really know how to take care of him back. Everything that I did know was what I just assumed was normal, or that Dad did for me, but Tyson was just different. The water, despite bubbling around me, didn't feel relaxing anymore. It just felt uncomfortable. Each bubble crawling against the skin under my fur, while the inside of my head screamed with bad thoughts. What if I let Tyson die? Would I be happier or sadder? What would everyone else feel? How would I feel? My stomach lurched the moment I thought about it. Losing Tyson would be devastating. But something deep down made me wonder if he'd be just as devastated if I were to die. By the time I made it back to my bedroom, I was exhausted and not hungry. Looking at the time, chances are I'd be called down for dinner, but I didn't want to go. At some point, Orlando came in to check on me and I mentioned I should eat something, but left when I said I wanted to be alone. He lingered, but ultimately left quietly. Not that I felt up for talking anyway. The evening went by, long past dinner into the later hours of the night, all the while getting closer to when I was due to meet Oswin. So I lay staring at the ceiling, though something was prodding me somewhere in the back of my mind. Nothing had happened today, but something was urging me to do something. I sat up and looked around, checked my phone, wondered if I'd forgotten something. Let them die. I was getting sick of that voice in my head telling me I should just let my friends die. Then it occurred to me that there was something in this very house that could help with that, something that, as far as I knew, was the only lifeline I had. The vault, but... Looking around again, I wondered if someone was watching me or if someone had done something to make me think of it. The question still lingered in my mind. Should I go? Let's go down there. I thought about it again. I wonder if there's anything really problematic about me just paying a little visit to it. Not only that, but if I was going to be meeting with Oswin, the topic might come up anyway, right? Creeping out of my room, I wandered downstairs. I could hear other people in the house, happy voices that seemed to be interacting nicely with one another. I couldn't tell who it was, but I continued on downstairs. By comparison, the basement was cold, dark and quiet. I flicked on the light and wandered over the one room I was interested in. I wasn't say I didn't look around for any of the doors. What had happened this morning was still something I was conscious of. And there it was, standing before me. I sighed out, stepping closer and reaching out. The moment my fingers brushed the input panel, I closed my eyes and I waited. So, there are two ways the next few scenes will go based on whether you know this or whether you don't get it or you don't go to the vault. And I can't really tell what impact that's going to have later on, unlike the earlier versions. So we're going to go with putting the password in, and I'm not actually going to hide it from you this time because it will actually come up in conversation later. So why am I hiding it here? There was a chime and I tensed up for a sharp pain made my knees buckle. I hit the floor soon after. My mind was racing, pain coursing through my side from where I'd assumed I'd landed on the floor. Oswin in somewhere. An office? There was the word, but what did it mean? Why, had I just mashed buttons and made up a word? I came to on the floor of the vault, the room spinning as it came back into focus. Groaning, I picked myself up, bracing myself on the wall while my breathing levelled out. My body hurt, but if I saw what I did, there had to be a reason. Stumbling back to my room, I splashed myself with water and let the clock run down until the meeting. Then it was time. I made my way to the conservatory. After all, it was where I'd come to those nights ago. Even though Oswin disappeared downstairs this morning, this was the passage I knew to follow. Not only that, but he said same place, which meant the library. Pulling the box Hosh showed me opened the passage, and I stole one last look at the room before heading into the darkness. I followed the wall, and soon... Looking down from the landing, I saw Oswin leaning against the table we sat at those nights ago. He seemed to be looking at something in his hand rather than watching for my arrival. When I headed down the stairs, whatever he was holding, he put in his pocket, looking up to greet me. Oh, good evening. Yeah. What's the matter? Are you tired? No, it's not that, just... I don't know. The last couple of days have been busy. Of course. Granted, it's been informative for me watching things play out. I shuffled nervously on the spot, keeping my gaze on the floor. So, what are we meeting for again? Oswin huffed out quietly, his tone serious rather than coy. I prepared something in the lab, someone for you to meet too. Frowning, I shot him a wary look. There shouldn't have been anyone else here unless someone had arrived without everyone noticing. Come this way, I'll show you to the lab. He wandered over the large door and input something into the keypad, a familiar chime playing afterwards. Then the door itself started to open with a groan, just enough for Oswin to open it by himself. You opened it? Yes. Is that so odd? But it's just like downstairs. Well, yes, using the same door is one thing, but the systems connected to each are quite different. This just has a corridor behind it, or rather my part of the house. Without explaining further, he stepped through the door, leaving it open for me to follow him through. I took another look at the line before steeling myself of what was on the other side of the door. The stretch of dark that led who know where into the house. It was darker somehow than the passage from the conservatory to the library. It didn't seem nearly as long when I bumped into Oswin's back. Wait here, just a moment. He did something in the dark, another chime played, with another door being thrown open. Oswin stepped inside and I lingered outside, letting my eyes adjust to the dim green light coming from the computer in the corner. Come on in, mind the mess. I stepped in, wondering if I should close the door behind me. Oswin, meanwhile, was by a cabinet off to the left. It seemed there was another room attached to the room I stood in, based on the doorway tucked away in the corner. This is the lab? Oswin wandered over to his desk, hanging a key on a corkboard before turning to me. This is part of it, mostly just my surveillance area and where I entertain myself. The lab proper is just over there. Taking another look around the room, it looked like something out of a TV show when you imagined a mad scientist's hidden lab. Shelves of glass tubes and jars, books and other sciencey equipment. It was dark with a few things that glowed various colours, almost like a lava lamp that we had back home. Do you like it? Oh, it's fine, I guess. Oh, come now, Dave, how often do you get to see something like this? Never, but, science isn't really my thing. No, then what is? I chuckled, kicking the floor lightly. I like making things, arts and crafts and stuff. Making things? How incredibly juvenile. Hey, I'll have you know that I made a lot of neat things. They keep my hands busy and they make me feel better. Well, as someone else that likes making things, then we should swap creations sometime. Huh? What do you make? If you had a square of paper, I could make a little origami pig for your desk if you want. Well, that'd be a neat little addition. Alas, I do not have paper like that for you to use. Actually, while I remember, we're getting off track. I brought you here to show you something. Then is that matter of introducing you to someone quite special. He gestured to the desk chairs, offering me to sit down, and I did so, rocking lightly on the swivelling chair. I'll ask you something before you do. You raised a brow, curious. Can it not wait? It won't take long. I scratched my neck, suddenly feeling itchy. Is it just nerves? Or because of tiredness? You're not going to show me a piece of paper with a word on it, are you? Maybe I hit a nerve, or maybe it's that he was just taken aback. A word? What word? I thought over what I'd seen in the vault, mouthing the word to myself before speaking quietly. Metempsychosis? Slowly he pulled a piece of paper out of his pocket and unfurled it, showing me the thick red lines that made up the word. How? What do you mean? How did you know what I was going to show you? How did you know this word? Do you know what this word means? I shook my head, staring at the paper, then to him, my mouth feeling dry. Thanatos, make a note of this for me later. Who? I'm Dave, so... my pet rat, well, lab assistant. It's complicated. But tell me how this has happened. I don't know. I went to the vault before coming here and... You slammed the piece of paper down and looked thoughtful. Damn it all, Florencia. I tilted my head, wondering what he was going on about. Well, that decides it for me. What does? You know that word, but don't know what it means. You predicted I was going to show it you as well. Not only that, but how you were standing, it was kind of the same. He tensed up, looking me over. I wrote this word down for a very specific reason, a way to test if this was all some strange occurrence or was actually something measurable. But didn't you say the vault relied on trauma? That's right. Well, what was traumatic about telling me that word? Well, naturally, I need to stimulate some sort of shock to your system to mark the event as traumatic. I had a syringe prepared with a saline solution. I was going to use Thanatos as a distraction to inject you while you weren't looking. But that's terrible. Oh, come, that wouldn't have done you any harm. If anything, it would have made you feel less dehydrated. Besides, that's something that never happened. You're wrong. Pardon? If I was able to use the word in the vault, then that would mean that it would have had to happen in another timeline or something, right? Only one. Granted, you're likely right in that it did happen. You told me to trust you. Have I done anything of the sort to make you do otherwise? My eyes narrowed and I grumbled. Injecting me doesn't give me a lot of faith, Oswin. True, but outside of that, what if I were to offer you something to even the scale, as it were? Such as what? How will I know if you'd follow through on any promise either? Then, how about I reveal myself to your friends? Would that suffice? For the sake of full disclosure, I was planning on doing it anyway. How would something that you were going to do anyway prove to me that you're trustworthy? I stood up from the chair in a huff, irritated. I'm leaving. I turned to leave, burying my hands in my pockets. Funny, isn't it, how despite piecing this together, you still came to meet me tonight? I stopped in my tracks, thinking of witty comeback, but he had a point. If seeing what I did was traumatic enough to warrant seeing in the vault, why did I go? You're curious and you mean well, and some people will take advantage of that. I've been considering taking advantage of it myself if there weren't more pressing matters. What's your point? I'm not going to say we're alike, but we do have similar things that drive us. Curiosity is merely the catalyst that speeds the process along. I turned to face him, frowning. And what would you say drives me, huh? I'm just some guy that got wrapped up in this whole science thing. To top it off, I've been seeing my friends dying and it sucked. I can only imagine. For that very reason is why I sympathise. Watching someone die, especially before their time, is tragic, regardless of age. What do you mean? You know what I mean, or you should if you were paying attention a few nights ago. But as a doctor, you see it often. Things out of your control, and sometimes the best thing you can do is let them die in peace. I scoffed, throwing my hands up. That's meant to make me feel better. I've been hearing that inside my head most of the day. I didn't say it's the thing you should do, far from it. If you can save their lives, sometimes it's worth the momentary pain. My licence may have been revoked, but I've never once broken my Hippocratic oath, Dave. I don't intend to either. Despite the uncertain feeling I had, I lingered, waiting to hear more. Why are you telling me this? The reason I chose that word, Dave, is its meaning. Metempsychosis. I clutched my head, something lingering in the back of my mind, as if I was remembering something. It's something in the soul? There was a brief pain in my head, fleeting and searing hot, but the moment I felt it, it was gone. Are you alright? I think so. My head hurt for a second there. He watched me with a careful gaze, thinking something over. Metempsychosis is, well, it's like you say, the transmigration of a soul to a new body after death. Something in the vein of reincarnation. You die and become as new in your next body. The soul remains the same, but, well, it's all highly philosophical. The reason it was this word was because if you did what you did and remembered it from nowhere, well... He trailed off, looking to the side. What's happening to me? Like, what made me go to the vault? What's making me see these things? Why is it affecting me but no one else? None of the others have messed with it. It's their own prerogative. If you keep going back, that's likely due to it subverting your friend's meeting an early end. Beyond that, why it works, well... I think it best if I let Thanatos explain that. I'm going to head into the lab and prepare something. I'll be right back. He wandered off in the side room, flashing me a smile over his shoulder before ducking out of sight. Hey! Huh? As I looked to the desk, a rat wandered out and stood facing me on the desk. You never seen a talking rat before? I noticed a speaker on his collar, but this rat couldn't really be talking, could he? No, sorry, can't say I have. Are you Thanatos?
That I am, and yeah, well, chances are you aren't going to after me.
Oh, wow. His beady eyes stared up at me as his ears twitched and tail lashed behind him.
So you want to know how the vault works, huh?
Well, that's what Oswin said you do anyway.
He said why it works. Which I can do fine, but first you're going to tell me something.
Tell you what?
That dragon friend of yours, yeah? Orlando Noble?
What about him?
You know what his family does for a living, right?
Yeah, why? Thanatos stood still, searching my face for cracking a smile.
Sure, well.
He scratched himself behind his ears briefly before looking up at me.
Master said the vault works on genetic memory, yeah? That morphic resonance stuff.
Sure.
Well, you still need to code in the person to be affected, yeah? A little bit of DNA will do the trick.
What does this have to do with Orlando? Did you take some of his and code him in? Thanatos looked past me to the entry to the room, as if checking if Oswin was coming back. His voice was lower even as it came through the speaker next he spoke.
His dad is?
What?
Took some of that bastard scales and figured I'd see what would happen.
Wait, but if Orlando got the vault to work?
It's one half of his dad, so yeah, I guess that's enough.
The realization dawned on me. As far as I knew, no one had taken my DNA, so the reason the vault worked for me was... Wait, did you get my DNA from my dad too?
Oi, keep your voice down.
The moment Thanatos had told me to be quiet, I heard footsteps behind me. Stealing a look back at the desk, I managed to catch a tip of the rat's tail disappearing into the darkness and out of sight. Are you alright? I heard yelling. Oh, I'm fine, just I looked back at the desk again to where Thanatos was standing before looking back at Oswin. Thanatos told me that Orlando's dad? He sighed and shook his head before rubbing one of his tusks. Did he now? I'll have to scold him later for giving away specifics. But why? That dragon is a dangerous man. It's best if... Well, it's just best we don't pay too much mind on his involvement. Isn't it a bit late to be saying that now I already know? You have me there. Oh, very well. The noble family of mine have had dealings in the past, as would any family with a lot of wealth. Granted, most deals aren't exactly the most legal, but with that much money you can make the law enforcement look the other way, or the court system. I went to go say something, Rick cut me off, continuing his thoughts in stride. That isn't to say it's the right thing to do, but it is something that happens and happens a lot. My interactions with his family have been few and not quite all that pleasant, but they're a necessity. Necessary how, especially if you don't like them. It's a sad reality, the adult world. You'll be forced to interact with people you dislike as just part of your day-to-day routine, be it work or otherwise. In any case, there was some level of interest in getting the vault to work and was asking about it after Reginald died. Was wondering if there was something he could buy. And? Obviously not. I left my brother and sister, it's rightfully theirs. I wouldn't sell it to a man like that even if I was in a dire financial state. I nodded slowly, thinking it over. I'm guessing too that if it worked, correct. I wouldn't want something like that in the hands of a terrible person. Someone nicer perhaps, but this was all assuming it worked. Something I didn't have confirmation on until now. Anyway, I have something to show you. What is it? He sat down what looked like to be a gun on the desk next to me, a vial of something clear sloshing about attached to it near the top. This is called a pneumatic injector, similar to a normal syringe until it'll inject what you load into the top, but with compressed air so it's delivered quickly. Also handy for delivering medicine to those with hard scales or scoots, like your crocodile friend. My eyes were trained on the clear liquid loaded into the injector, not taking my eyes off it as I asked my question. What's loaded in there now? That'll be the saline solution I told you about before. Did you want me to prove it? I could inject you with it. And if it's poison, then I'll inject myself. I'm fine either way if you're that curious. If it's not as dangerous as you say, then inject it into yourself. Very well. He didn't flinch, taking up the injector and pressing it to his own neck. Pulling the trigger, he winced as what I assumed was the contents of the vial entering his bloodstream. Carefully, he pulled the device away and set it back onto the desk, looking at me. All done. Just like that. Of course, I wasn't lying about what it contained, and given the amount of coffee I've had today, it'd probably do me some good. Oswin breathed out, looking off to the cabinet off to the side. One last thing, Dave, then we'll call it for tonight. I followed his gaze over the cabinet, frowning. Something in there. Something of the sort. That cabinet holds some dangerous things, plus some not so dangerous things too. But someone's been in here. Things are missing. But wouldn't Thanatos have seen who it was? You're right. He should have, but for whatever reason he didn't. Benson doesn't know either. I have no reason to believe either of them would be disloyal to me, however, creating the problem. How big of a problem is it? What was taken? A few very choice chemicals, some medicine, while we're at it, various DNA samples. That's kind of gross. Dave, I'm talking fur and the like, nothing as far as more intimate samples. I digress. There's little reason why someone would take them, at least as far as I can tell. Why are you telling me this? The things that were taken could be very dangerous, so I caution you around strange substances you come across. I'll be around as a safety net, but just in case I'm not around at the time, be careful. Alright. But for now, why don't I show you the way out? It's a long time that both of us got some rest. He wandered over and led me out of the lab. I followed close behind so I could still see the white mass of his back, but far enough behind I was out of arm's reach. We were both quiet, but the sound of the house filled in the silence, the creaks and groans of the old house making it feel alive as if it were breathing. Oswin pushed something against the wall and the section opened, revealing what seemed to be the basement. Here we are. This is the basement. There was a passage here. He looked at me and nodded once before moving into this explanation. There's one secret passage from the conservatory to the library. You know, this one. Right, and then this one leads to the lab? Well, technically speaking, it's attached to the library as well, but the laboratory does exist in between, as does my bedroom. Then there's one last passage leading from just outside the dining room to that same passage we just passed through. I thought back to where Benson would appear and disappear from, figuring it was just him making use of that passage. Likely the one you've noticed Benson using, yes. It's the one he uses most often to bring me food, given how direct it is. Looking around the basement, my eyes locked on the door leading to the vault. I guess I'll see you later? It would seem so. Sleep well, Dave. By the time I looked behind me, he was already disappearing back through the passage, closing it behind him. The section looked like any other part of the wall. If I didn't know there was a passage here, I wouldn't think twice about it. There wasn't anything left to do now. It was just time for bed, where I'd be spending the night alone. Part of me wanted it to be different. Part of me wanted to go find Orlando and cuddle up. Part of me wanted to maybe find Dean or Tyson to do the same thing. I was alone. I stumbled up to my room, but not before heading to the conservatory to close off the passage to the library. When I got to my room, I nearly collapsed on the bed in exhaustion. The place was cold and quiet, making me shiver and cradle myself before forcing myself to shower. Clean, tired, and feeling a little lonely, I looked at my phone. Pictures of me and my friends, some of Mom and Dad, all of this mixed in to confuse my emotions further. All at once I felt sad, happy, alone, loved, and I hovered over the button to call my voicemail. I hesitated, wondering if listening to Dad's voice would do me any good, for I held off and pulled my finger away from the dial button. Something in me felt lighter. Not that it made me feel better entirely, but it was something that was different at least. I scrolled through the rest of my contacts. Tyson, Roswell, Orlando. I set my phone down with a sigh and got into bed, half hugging my pillow as I tried to will sleep to come to me. Falling asleep was hard, but it happened eventually. My mind was racing, wondering about what the next day would bring, and how the others would react to Oswin. Not to mention everything he told me about stuff missing from the lab. It was something I had to decide if I wanted to bring up at all, but that was something for the morning. And there we go, that's the end of this update for Tyson. So the next password will be Dean, and then we'll do Roswell's update as well. And the next video is actually going to be the smoke room with everyone's favourite badger, because that one just came out earlier today, so I'll be recording that soon. And then I don't know what's going to happen after that. We'll just see what's going on, because I still have quite a few things to do. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this one. Until next time, bye for now.